Hi Flosstube, I'm Lori and welcome to Once Upon a Stitch. Today is Sunday. Yay, fun day. October 17th, 2021. I'm here for my 83rd Flosstube. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, I hope you enjoy what you see and I hope you subscribe and like. And all my friends that come back every time I make a video, thank you so much. I'm so happy to meet with you and show you what I'm stitching and hearing from you. So thank you. I want to thank Vickie, the Virginia Stitcher, for giving me a shout out. Thanks, Vickie. I appreciate that. She and I do seem to stitch quite a lot of the same patterns. It's really, it'd be so cool to like live next to each other and say, hey, what are you doing today? This one? Okay, I'll do it too. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to just answer a few questions that people have asked, show you some finishes, and then show you what I've been working on, and then talk a little bit at the end about plans for 2022. Okay, first, the last time we met, the next day I was going to a farmer's market with Rebecca and Caleb up in Summit, New Jersey, and that was the first time I had been there. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fresh produce, breads. They even had fish and cheeses. So it was a great time. We, bought some stuff, brought it home. Caleb, enjoyed it. It was different. We bought him a little pumpkin, some lemonade. So he was a happy camper. Okay, somebody asked about my rotation. I know the viewers that come back all the time know about my rotation, but for new people, my rotation basically is to stitch on something for 2 days and then swap it out for the next project. And then on days that for whatever reason that I just don't stitch, in the past I would just go on to that next piece. But now it's at the point where I make a decision. Maybe I want to continue that second day, and I will, and then move things around. But basically, it's a 2-day rotation, and I pretty much stick to it. People have also mentioned, which I couldn't imagine doing, but making a floss tube every week instead of every other week. I don't think I'd have enough to share with you. And I think it would be more stressful because I only have a couple of days that I can finish because I watch Caleb on the other days, and that would be really difficult. So I do it on a 2-day rotation, as a 2-week span for floss tubes, more or less. So that I have stuff to show you, so I can maybe do some finishes. So it's not just 3 or 4 projects and see ya. So that's my thoughts behind it. That I don't have enough stuff to show in a week's time, and that's me. Somebody asked about the Just Cross Stitch magazine ornaments that I've been stitching. And there's a Facebook group, and it is called JCS for Just Cross Stitch, Stitch Along. And I believe, if I remember correctly, you had to answer 1 or 2 questions about cross stitching, and they would accept you to the group. Right now, they started for the 2022 issue. They're asking questions about the type of patterns you want to stitch. So if anybody is interested in that, and then over the year you stitch one pattern a month. That's generally selected for everybody, and then you have 2 options that you can swap out two for whatever reason to something else from one of the Just Cross Stitch magazines, and it could be past magazines. It doesn't have to be the present one. And that's it. Will I do that again? Probably not. Only because when I'm on a deadline of doing something, I stress over it. So it's not fun. Would I stitch ornaments? Of course. But I don't want to have to do it every month for 12 months. Even though at the end it was great. You have 12 new ornaments for your tree every year. Some people do it, but when I was looking at the number of starts I had this year, I was counting them up because I'm trying to plan for next year. By the time I finish this year, I'll have over 55 new starts that I started this year. Um, and luckily, I think I'm only going to be carrying over 25, 26, somewhere around there. I'm not absolutely sure at this point because you never know when I'm going to start. But so I think that was pretty good. I had, I forget the exact number, but I had over 40, I think about 45 finishes, because of the little ornaments and things like that. So I got some things done. I got finishes, but I just didn't fully finish them. Okay, that's enough of that. On to what I've completed in fully finishing. I've showed these that I've stitched in prior videos, but now I finished them. This is my ornament for my great niece Sophia. And then I have a button and the year. And then Ava, her sister, because her name was shorter, I made her a little bit bigger pillow. And I put her pin in the front and a larger rusty bell. This one got a little smaller one because it was a more petite. Okay, and speaking of the Just Cross Stitch magazine, this was the ornament. And I'm trying to think, maybe I wrote it in my calendar. Joy from the Heart Needle Art, Joy. And I fully finished it. And I put a little green bell on it. And then finally for a finish, I finished You Warm My Heart by Puntini Puntini. And I know a lot of patterns photograph differently. If I were to do this over, which I think I will, I would make the blues a little bit more like this. But I have a finish. You Warm My Heart. And there was two buttons, the nose and the heart. And I finished it with a gray pin dot. I had pulled a blue pin dot, but it didn't sit well with the coloring of the fabric, but this worked out really well, and I put some white chenille that I hand stitched around. And that was my fourth finish. Okay. October was supposed to be for ornaments that I was stitching in May. For Stitch Mania. Stitch Mania, I was doing a lot of Christmas starts. So this first pattern in May, I stitched the Angel Boy, and I was able to finish him in the 2-day rotation. This time I stitched the girl, and I did not finish it in a 2-day rotation. Okay, here was the Angel Boy that I finished. I guess it was the 2 days that I selected to work on him. I must have stitched during the day as well. And here's the little girl. And I think she came out so adorable. So these will be the Christmas ornaments for my grandchildren this year. A little large for the Christmas tree, but it'll be on the bottom section. On the bigger branches. Or maybe it'll be at the top. So I have to figure out how I'm going to finish those. And I think I might even stitch the other ones eventually because they are so adorable. So that was Cuore e Batticuore. Oh, and this last one was done on a 28 count platinum Lugana. I think it was platinum Lugana, but there's some modeling, and platinum's not usually modeled. But I took out my ring of what I've saved, and that's what matched up the closest in color to this piece. The next I did a Prairie Schooler Evergreen, and this time I did the dove and the houses and peace. And that's my finish on that one. I have one more to stitch that I'll have 6, and I'm trying to finish them all in the same way. This is stitched on a 28 count sage, Springfield Sage Lugana. Next one I worked on was, okay, in May, Stitch Mania, I did Jolly Mr. Claus, and now I'm doing Merry Mrs. Claus, and I'm stitching it on a 16 count Black Ada, and I finished both of them. So I hope to finish fully finish them soon. I put them real close. Those were what I stitched as far as ornaments, Christmas ornaments. Now on to my regular stitching. In no particular order. I picked up the tortoise and the hare. Put it a little closer so you can see the picture. And basically I worked in the center section again because this is almost fully stitched. I have to still go back and add in behind the sky, behind the trees. And this is where I've gotten to. I filled in all this grass, the sign that says finish, I believe, of the race. And I have to fill in the background in here. And I finished the turtle. The sign was I came down too low, so I had to frog it back up. I did a lot of frogging in this stitching rotation that I had since we were last together. Then I picked up Little House Needleworks, Little House Neighborhood. And if I remember correctly, I finished the top border, yes. I got to the other end and I started the house. I just have to do the roof of the house and the inside of the windows. So is this on screen? Yeah. So the tree and everything on this side was already done in the first rotation. So this one I finished across to the other side and I did the house. And this is on a 28 count Ivory Lugana. Then I picked up Swan Lake. This is one of the anniversaries of the heart. And this is being stitched on a 28 count Almond Lugana. And I finished the house and I started the swan. I had to pick this up again. I worked on this in the last video and I had the outline of the house done in that dolphin color. I'm using all Gentle Arts that's called for, what is it? And Classic Colorworks. Leeks Dye Works, I didn't have the dolphin, but I had the DMC equivalent. And it was just, I don't know, it was glaring at me without the rest of it filled in. So I decided to pick it up again in this section of the month instead of later on. And I'm hoping for a finish on this in another 2 days. So we'll see how that works. And that would be most likely in November. This is the Tiny Modernist. Now, let's see. This is the first, this was a mystery. So this is how the first one came out, where it was the outside of the houses. And then you got the individual house rooms. This is the one I wanted to pick up. And this is what it looks like when it's all filled in. And I really loved the colors in this. I thought it was beautiful. It stood out. So that was my reasoning for picking it. And it's stitched on a 28 count Lugana that was dyed for me by Silk Weavers. So it really doesn't have a name. I call it Haunted sometimes, but I don't know if it's the same as other Haunted. And what I did in this session of stitching is I did the whole bottom here to fill in the house, the grass, the gate, and then started the house, and this is the beginning of the tree that's up the side. I was really worried about this because I didn't know if I was going to have enough room on the sides. But now that I see it on camera, there should be room. Because I work in a Q-snap, so I have to allow for the turning around on a side of a Q-snap. But I think it'll work out fine. So that was the Tiny Modernist, the Haunted Mansion. And that should be a finish in 2022. So close. Then I picked up the Frosted Pumpkin, Once Upon a Time. I was going to say stitch. Once Upon a Time. And the goal was to finish 4 blocks this year. And I completed that by completing the August block this time. That was this here. So I have these 2 and the border. And I'm stitching this on, I think it was a 16 count. 16 count doubloon by Picture This Plus. And let's see, that's the whole piece. And these are Aesop stories, takeoffs of Aesop stories. So I just finished the August block down there. And I have November and December to go. Now, this one is definitely not challenging. It's time consuming because of the color changes. Now, someone suggested, get one color to stitch it in the whole block. The only reason I don't do something like that is because I'm afraid of the counting error I might have. And then I have to frog. So even though it's on Ada, it's easier to count. It's just, I don't know. If it's within close proximity of other colors, I'll do that. But if I really have to count to figure out something in the middle of a piece, I usually work from a border out, always like a starting point in most of my stitching, no matter what I'm stitching on. I picked up Autumn in the Village again from Stony Creek. I think I showed this in my last video, I think. And I had skipped the grocery store and I went on to this little house here. It's hard to see. It's a difficult picture to see details of it because this was a lot of confetti. I call it confetti. It's just like Once Upon a Stitch, where Once Upon a Time, in that you have to change colors all the time. So, but I made up my mind. I was going back. I was filling in the bottom here, and I filled it in, and I also got to outline it, which I'm thrilled because that's when the piece actually comes alive to me. Okay, and here's the piece. Doesn't that look pretty? Oh, I love this. And this is where I was talking about. In the pattern, I couldn't really make it out, but a bench of pumpkins and a pot of flowers. I just thought it's so pretty. And like I said, I didn't know what I was stitching when I was stitching it until I stood back and looked at it. So I'm really happy with the way that came out. So I just have outlining of this house to complete, and then I have one more house and a lantern at the end. So pretty. That's Autumn in the Village by Stony Creek. Alrighty, and that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed my finishes, my whips, and I'm thinking about plans. If you have any suggestions, please feel free to share yours for stitching in 2022. I have some patterns that I ordered from needle workers that haven't come in, and there are 4 patterns from him. 2 are definitely that I definitely want to start. One is in all things being exceedingly diligent, and I think they're both by Needlework Press, and the other one's the accompanying piece, which is Be Kind. And I would love to start Be Kind on January. This is one of the plans I have, thinking of January 17th. It would be my mother's 100th birthday if she were alive. And everybody loved my mother. They always spoke highly of her. They always enjoyed her being at any party. So my mother was always kind. So I think I'd like to start that one right on her birthday on January 17th. And that's the only plan I have so far. But and then I also have a long dog that I ordered from 123 Stitch that I'll share with you when it comes in. And I think I might start that in January as well, even though I haven't finished. I have 3 more pages on my Templar Prophecy, which I will be stitching on today. I'll be putting in 2 days on that. We took down the pool, so right now it's a big hole in the ground, and we got a second load of dirt, and we've been transporting it from the front of the house to the back of the house in wheelbarrows. So I've been helping Sal do that. So yeah, I'm a little tired, but that's about it. I haven't really. I did a little bit of sewing, but they're of those bags. Let's put it that way. I'm making some bags for the holidays, and I still have Caleb's quilt that I shared with you that I have to quilt. So it's at the point where and they're saying you have to shop early for Christmas this year. Worst scenario, everybody's getting money. Who doesn't like that? So anyway, I have 2 doctor's appointments coming up. One tomorrow and then the following week. Those are my yearly, and every other year, because now I'm on Medicare, so that Medicare doesn't cover a yearly for one of the doctors. So I'll be doing that, and that's about it. So it was a quick one, but I'm glad you're here, and I hope you liked what you saw. So until next time, friends, stay well, be safe. Love you guys.